Good evening, Internet Urban Explorers. I'm Alexa, resident ooky spooky girly and aspiring urban explorer. Look, I like the idea of exploring abandoned places in theory, but I'm not exactly into breaking the law, getting hurt, or bringing ghosts home with me, so I'll just stick with watching others do it from a safe distance. Before I forget, I'll admit up front, I have a friend whose dad is an officer, so my basis of terrifying authorities is essentially today, like if I asked him if he said hell no or didn't react to the stories I came across in my research. So make of that what you will. Thanks, friends, dad. No, I'm not naming them. Anonymity's a thing. Question for y'all, have you ever done any urban exploring of your own? Let me know in the comments, and speaking of which, stick around until the end of today for a special edition of comment section shoutouts. And welcome to the top 5 abandoned shacks discovered in the woods that terrify authorities. Number 5, lipstick warning. Now, Stella McDonald and her now ex-husband used to love exploring abandoned structures when they were together. I remember one that they described as a shack that was about a mile away from their home. To set the scene, the grass and trees were so grown over and tall that it was hard even getting to said house. Her ex managed to get a window open though, and that's how they got in, because the doors were completely awful. Mildew, you name it. Ugh. I think this is where I interject a warning to not do this yourself, don't do this at home, and if you ever feel the need to urban explore, for the love of everything, please do it safely. So Stella described what they found as a time capsule, with piles of expensive furniture and stuff covered with really dusty sheets. Apparently though, everything looked really high quality and expensive. Like even the wallpaper was nice. It was creepy how it seemed like the former residents just walked away from all of it in the 1950s or 60s, and how awful the exterior seemed in comparison. Once again, she called it a shack, not me. So the kitchen was upstairs, which was pretty odd, but the duo ventured up there, and then there's this huge arch opening into like a gentleman's type man cave. Stella made a note that once again, there was a plethora of expensive furniture and who knows what else. So she stood in the archway while her ex rummaged through all of the unknown clutter. Now off to the side of the arch was a huge mirror leaning against the wall. So she used it, she wanted to check her hair, make sure there's no spider webs in it. Honestly, just the thought of that makes me want to take a shower. No, thank you. Stella took maybe 3 steps away from the mirror to tell her ex that she wanted to leave because it felt like there was a presence right beside her. And when she returned in front of the mirror, she saw that the words "Get out" were suddenly scrawled out in bright pink lipstick that very much hadn't been there before. Now she's sworn on everything that it hadn't been there. She would have noticed it, and also would have noticed if there was another presence in the room with her and her husband. So this shock caused Stella to scream, leap back into a kitchen table, and then obviously, crash, kaboom, fall. So her ex came running over, because, this got his attention, but Stella was too scared to form words by this point. So she just continued to point at the mirror and babble until the duo safely got away. Yeah, hard pass. Also, congrats on him being your ex. Sound like he cared for you in this moment though. Number 4, death becomes you. So yeah, there was this once beautiful Greek revival home in Uniontown, Alabama, but now apparently it looks like it's being swallowed up by the earth, and its tragic past certainly lives up to the haunting aesthetic. Look folks, the term shack is subjective, and I'm about to stretch that meaning beyond its limit today. So in January of 1994, the remains of, let's see if I can get this right, bleep-year-old Alan Lucy were found buried beneath the front porch of the Hardy Coleman house, or as it's better known, online, the Lucy Murder house. So Alan, who lived in the home with his adoptive parents, Philip and Margaret Lucy, disappeared without a trace in May of 1985. In the months that followed, Jason Lucy, their biological son, told classmates that his father killed Alan and buried him in the backyard. For years, nobody believed Jason's story, even though rumors about the Lucy family swirled around town long before Alan disappeared. Decades after, Alan Lucy's killer was brought to justice, the house has still not recovered, largely due to environmental injustices that have driven many residents out of Uniontown and left those who remain fighting for justice of their own. So what's left? Oh, nothing crazy, just a house in the middle of a forest. Haunted beyond belief. Lots of bad mojo there. Number 3, a hiking adventure gone wrong. So this tale comes along courtesy of Grant Charbonneau, who along with his buddy Mike embarked on a hiking adventure on the day after he turned 18. So armed with a compass to navigate the labyrinth of trails, the duo set out to conquer the longest route leading to a camping spot deep within the forest. The color-coded paths ensured they stayed on course, but fate had other plans for the friends. As they ventured along the red route adorned with a tent emblem, a dilapidated sign hinted at an old dirt road, tempting them to deviate from their original plan. Intrigued by the mystery it promised, they forged ahead, discovering an abandoned place concealed by nature's, reclaiming of it. A desolate structure covered in graffiti and bearing ominous signs of warning. Let's just see, what did it have? Oh right, the classic, keep out, private property, and trespassers will be, kaboomed, for lack of a better word. Undeterred by the foreboding messages, the boys breached the door's defenses, revealing a time-forgotten interior frozen in the mid-1980s. Dust-covered relics, wild boar, and stag heads adorning the walls painted a picture of abandonment and eerie stillness. Now their curiosity pushed pushed them further. Mike ascended upstairs while Grant explored the kitchen. The disconcerting ambiance heightened as they stumbled upon a locked door beneath the stairs. Now, this is where I personally would be running for the hills, because if something is locked, it should probably stay that way, but I'm sure you and I can both guess how this story is about to go, otherwise I wouldn't be mentioning it. Determined, the boys broke the chains and uncovered a hidden staircase leading to a basement. And not just any basement, one harboring a bizarre secret. So their flashlights illuminated a room filled with glass cases, each veiled in layers of dust. As they wiped away the grime, they were met with grotesque wax-like figures clad in various dresses. Now finally, we've got a chill running down their spines, but oh, just wait till we get to the center case. There, suspended in eternal bondage, was a clothed human figure, a haunting display of the macabre. A yellow-stained envelope nearby contained a handwritten note, revealing the twisted mind behind this morbid collection. The author, a self-proclaimed collector, detailed a dark journey from taxidermist to a connoisseur of preserved human beauty. His words, not mine. Each victim, immortalized in wax, became a macabre masterpiece in this gruesome gallery. Overwhelmed by revulsion, the boys finally made their escape, leaving the forest and its secrets behind. The note, a testament to the deranged mind that lurked in the shadows, became their only link to a truth that the authorities struggled to unravel. Now, as the guys sat in the safety of Grant's car, the weight of what they witnessed began to sink in. So this forest, once a realm of adventure, kinda now bore the stain of unspeakable horrors. And the abandoned house stood as a silent witness to the awfulness within. Sorry, I was losing my words there because, like, how on earth do you describe that? The echoes of that day linger in the, depths of their memories. A chilling reminder that, maybe don't adventure where you're not supposed to go. Seriously, folks, beware! Number 2, captive room. Did you seriously think I was gonna do a whole list on abandoned places that would terrify authorities without having a single story from actual authorities? Come on, folks. How do you take me for? I like my credible sources, and this one just happens to hit a little close to home. Oh, how close, you ask? Well, as an Ontario resident, a story that took place in Pickering seems pretty close enough. So back in 2011, on, December 19th to be exact, Durham police reported that they'd found what appeared to be a confinement room in an old abandoned farmhouse east of Toronto. Police said the room in the Northwest Pickering home was recently built and looked like it was solely designed to hold someone captive. Now, investigators at the time were trying to figure out if the room was used to actually confine somebody or if it was just designed for another purpose and they were, over-exaggerating. So they mentioned one possibility is that it might have been built as a prop for an amateur filmmaker. So this room was stumbled upon by contractors surveying the property because, it was slated for demolition more than 2 weeks prior to the report. At the time, Durham police spokesman Dave Selby said that the home had been abandoned for so long that the focus wasn't on the original owners, but on anyone who may have been seen driving in the area or any other suspicious activity. They're obviously down there because it's somewhere where no one would check. You could stick someone in this room and lock them in. Now, police didn't rule anything out, but they weren't able to determine at the time if anybody was ever held in the room. Once again, we've got our cop spokesman. Our forensic guys went down and took all kinds of samples of anything they could, find to figure out if it was used and how it was used. But at this point, it's still under investigation, and we really don't know if it was used for a criminal purpose or not. So 2 weeks after the room was discovered, the farmhouse burned down in what police described as a suspicious fire. Now, they've never laid charges in connection to the fire, but, Robert White was eventually charged, arrested, and pleaded guilty to breaking and entering with intent. He planned on kidnapping a woman named Gwen Armstrong, a friend of his ex-wives, because she provided his ex-wife with emotional and financial support after their separation. Yikes! Number 1, somebody found a body. A group of young adults in South Carolina back in 2021 got quite the scare when they were exploring an allegedly haunted house and wound up discovering a dead body in a freezer. According to a local media report, the strange incident occurred in the town of Norway as 8 youngsters were riding ATVs in a remote part of the community. So at some point in the midst of their adventure, they came upon an abandoned shack, which is rumored to be, haunted. And as adventurous folks are, likely to do, they were like, hey, let's go see if there's any ghosts inside. However, as they were looking around the vacant residence, one of the members of the group stumbled upon a sizable freezer and decided, let's see what's inside. Upon opening the cold storage unit, he was greeted by an ungodly smell, which he initially thought was just, rotting meat. Technically he was right, although the contents of the freezer were far more gruesome than, some old pork chops. That's because on closer examination, he realized that the meat was wearing jeans and socks. So the would-be ghost hunters called the cops, who arrived on the scene to collect the body for an autopsy to figure out the identity of the deceased. It is believed that the body inside the freezer had been there for months and could possibly be the victim of foul play. As for the adventurous youngins, it would seem that they are now haunted by something far more unsettling than a ghost, the stench from the rotting corpse. One of them said, I heard that once you smell a human, you can't ever forget it. And he's like, yeah, I can still smell it right now. And that brings us to the end of our list, which means it's time for comment section shoutouts. For one of my favorite videos I've done recently, top 5 scary cursed dolls that are seeking revenge, user Mandy Bruins 4526 said, my favorite doll is Robert the doll and Annabelle. Look, I'm with you on Annabelle, love her. Robert, I just respect. From the same video, user Jimmy Banthral 3834 said, she will find you in the next 2 years. Now, I'm assuming you're talking about the baby doll I mentioned from my childhood, and she was actually found yesterday. She's a kissy baby doll from Irwin Toys that was released in 1999 and has sensors that trigger sayings in response to being kissed. Yeah, even I think that's creepy on its own, trust me. And it's a Canadian toy, go figure. Finally, user Ariana Demina said, "You are easily one of my favorite hosts. Love the dark look, yet a home full of stuffies and dolls. Kindred spirits." Thank you so much. Honestly, I like to think of myself as a fun mix of emo demonic and bubbly cutesy. And that's all from me, folks. If you enjoyed my ramblings today, could you help us out by giving this video a like, subscribing if you aren't already, hit the bell for more abandoned goodness from us here at Top 5 Scary Videos, and I'll see y'all next time, you lovely spooky people.